Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. So, after experiencing one of the craziest hype cycles in the Pokemon market, if not the craziest, the Pokemon market hasn't stopped dipping for nearly 2 months. And if you're like myself, you're wondering, where's the bottom? Is this a correction? Is it something bigger? If it is, what is it exactly? Right? Because if there's a correction, there has to be a bottom to it at some point. It shouldn't be flattening out and stagnating, but the drop continues. Right. So from 2024 to 2025, we saw insane growth in all kinds of products. We saw buyouts. We saw influencers come into the market. We have what's so-called the new money coming to the market. We saw the Wall Street Journal posted an article about Pokemon bringing in big money to the market. We saw all kinds of FOMO all over the place. We even saw some products double or triple in a matter of weeks or months, which was pretty crazy in my opinion. We shouldn't be expecting that kind of growth in an organic market, right? This was a extreme in sorts of ways. It was just out of the ordinary, right? This is not the typical thing that you will see in the Pokemon market. But then at some point, the cool down began, or the so-called correction began. And of course, there are various reasons for this. Reason number one, overextension. Of course, prices ran way too far. I said this various times. The fact that a product would release at $160 and appreciate up to $300 in a matter of weeks or months is out of the ordinary, should not be expected, and is not healthy whatsoever for the market. It has gotten to the point where booster boxes are actually releasing at $300, which is not sustainable. It is not good for any investor whatsoever. It's not good for the collector. It's just not good for the long term of the hobby. Reason number two for the correction is possibly speculators, right? A lot of people enter the market, started buying at the top of the market, which we had like 3 months ago, 3 months ago, 2 months ago. Everything was at its all-time high, and there were a lot of people buying into products maybe at the time that they shouldn't. Maybe they were buying products that were way too new and got expensive way too fast. And now that we're hitting a correction, a downturn, a lot of them are exiting the market. A lot of them have this new fear, which makes sense because they bought at the top. And so for that reason, they're exiting, right? They're leaving, they're gonna start selling off, and they're gonna start moving away from the market. Reason number three would be supply hitting the market, right? We had Destined Rivals reprints. Uh, People assumed Destined Rivals would take a bit longer to reprint. It reprinted even before Journey Together, but the box was over $400, which then got it to correct to $380. Sales also diminished because of that reason, because it got too expensive. For example, a box like Surging Sparks was getting up to $300. It is now sitting at like $225 because an immense supply has hit the market. We have retailers, TCG stores with more boxes. We have vending machines that were loaded with Surging Sparks booster boxes. And for that reason, Surging Sparks has dropped down to $225. And things like this make it so that people don't FOMO, right? There's less urgency. There's just more sealed product available, and one of the major reasons I would say for the correction. And reason number four, last but not least, is the sentiment has changed, right? Hype has turned to doubt, FOMO has turned to caution. There's fear all over the place. People are going to be a little more picky now, right? And for that reason alone, it's also going to add to the diminishing of sales. It's gonna reduce hype, and people are gonna fall back just a little bit. They're gonna start to pick and choose the things that they should or shouldn't buy. They're gonna maybe start picking quality over quantity because things are gonna become much more affordable within this correction or the downturn that we're having right now. And so one of the more incredible things that have been happening that are big indicators of Pokemon correcting are sealed products that are no longer in print, correct? Right? Like Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield is by far the safest product you can buy right now. Anything in Sword and Shield booster boxes are the much more safer products that are affordable, like Silver Tempest, Lost Origin, even Evolving Skies for those that can afford to buy Evolving Skies. Those are the thought out products that are much, much more protected. They're much safer. But even those, Lost Origin at some point was $900. It is now selling for $630. You can find Lost Origin booster boxes on both TCG Player and eBay for $630. Then you have Evolving Skies, the probably best set ever created that was selling for more than $2,500, now selling for like $2,000 to $2,100. like I said, it's very important to indicate that Evolving Skies is probably the best set ever created, and even that is having a major correction. I mean, it's not something to be really afraid of. The correction is a very healthy thing for the market because everything ran up way too fast. Remember, guys, we are long-term investors. At least I think I'm speaking to long-term investors. This is something that is out of the ordinary, isn't really the thing that you should expect for the long term, and it isn't really healthy for your investments because then you have something like a major correction like we're having now. Huge spikes up are usually the recipe for a huge drop down. So that's something that you don't typically want. You want to see organic growth. You want to be able to calculate your next move properly so that you can make the best choices for your investments. And so this leads us to the main point in the video, which is where's the bottom? Where exactly is the bottom of the market and why is it still not here, right? We don't really know exactly when it'll change, but we have the most likely scenario, which is just a good slow grind down. People will then continue or not continue. They will start to come back into the market because they see the correction, they see the calming of the market. It'll start bringing people down. The bottom would eventually form quietly over time. I mean, that's the best case scenario. That's probably the most likely thing that we're going to see, especially in the next 3 months, right? In the next 3 months, we will not see a set. We've been used to seeing a set about almost every 2 months. We now have 3 months up until the next set in Ascending Heroes. We're going to be having 3 months of corrections. We may even see some reprints. We don't exactly know what's going to happen, but this is the most likely scenario. We're going to slowly trend down, eventually get to a bottom after speculators start coming back into the hobby and just start having more confidence in products as they correct and stabilize. But there are also two other possible scenarios. One is a new bull market, entering a new bull market, a new hype cycle where after this correction, we get into the next set, which is Ascended Heroes, and we're all like, there's a lot of hype behind it. We already know what's in the set, at least the big things that are in there. We may be having a few more key pieces that are missing from what's been leaked, but for the most part, there's already a lot of hype building behind it. And what is very possible is that after this set does officially release, we enter a very new hype cycle and start having another whole bull year in 2026 with the 30th celebration approaching as well. But then there's another scenario, a bear market. Is it possible? Yes, it is. Of course, it's possible. There may be more panic selling. There may be more influencers that do help hype the market, leaving the market because they don't see any benefit to their content revolving around Pokemon. And then major buyouts are going to stop, right? People are not going to be able to be as liquid as they were before. They're not going to be able to let go of their investments in bulk anymore. People are not going to want to buy. They're going to want to take products at percentage. And then it's going to make people not want to sell because they don't want to lose out on possible gains. It's going to make people not want to sell. It's going to make people not want to buy. People are going to want to uh, pick and choose very strategically. And they're just going to buy what they can at the cheapest price possible. Now, once again, I'm not predicting. I do not have a crystal ball. We're just, once again, I'm not predicting. I do not have a crystal ball. I am just talking about possibilities that may occur in the Pokemon market. I do believe that the best case scenario is just a flat market from now, especially up until Ascended Heroes. I don't expect the set Ascended Heroes to literally make the whole market take off. Is it a possibility? Yes, it is. But I don't think that's likely going to happen because everything is already really expensive. Even if we flatten out from this point onto Ascended Heroes, everything is already expensive, right? Obsidian Flames is pretty close to $300. I know it dipped a little below that, but it's still really expensive. The same thing for a set like Stellar Crown that many people don't believe in. Trending Together has had a lot of people talk it down, and it's still $250. Destined Rivals, which is the best main set in Scarlet and Violet, has been out for what? It came out in May. It's been out for 6 months, and it's $380, which is insane. That's really something that people didn't expect or anticipate. That's something that people saw happening in a year's time, maybe 2 years' time, after a few reprints of Destined Rivals did release. But that's not the case right now. And for that reason, I don't think that we're going to head into a incredible bull market, even with Ascended Heroes there to try to catapult it. Um, It's just the reality of it. Once things become too expensive, I think that that's really what's going to happen. For the most part, after you reach a certain price point, the price, the pool of people that can afford to buy booster boxes at these prices without putting themselves in a point where they're overextended, becomes smaller and smaller. The higher things go, the more expensive things get, and people just don't find a way to justify buying a booster box for 300% a few months after release or at the point of release. That's just a reality of it, and that's very, very understandable. I can completely relate. It just doesn't make sense to buy a box at 200% out the gate, 300% out the gate. It just doesn't make any sense. So for investors like myself, it's going to be very, very important to identify the bottom, right? We're going to see prices flatten out, right? We're going to stop seeing these price spikes. We're going to stop seeing price drops, and we're going to start seeing a nice stagnation. We're going to start seeing this correction really, really become flat, and it's going to be a big indicator of where the bottom is. Another thing is going to be, you're going to see less volume on the market. You're going to see product not just come in abundance. You're going to see Phantasmal Flames second wave dry up at some point. You're going to see Mega Evolution second wave that hit the market dry up at some point. You're going to see whatever came out for Destined Rivals that got brought to the market a few weeks ago finally start drying out. Surge Sparks has stopped appearing at vending machines. You're going to start seeing that start to dry up. So those are going to be major indicators. We're going to stop seeing people talking about panic all the time. You're going to stop seeing that in comments. You're going to stop seeing that on Reddit and different forums. You're going to start seeing interest returning to underpriced items. You're going to start seeing buyers come back slowly but surely. People are going to start buying again, and that's where you're going to see as a big organic indicator of what the bottom is, and that's going to be very important for us because that's what we are going to be looking for. So as investors, this is where we will come in, right? We're going to be looking for sets that have nostalgia, whether it's 151, Paladin Fates, Destined Rivals, maybe Surging Sparks because of the Pikachu and the legendaries in there. Maybe some things in Sword of Shield to have legendaries in there, like strong alternate arts with the Lugia and Silver Tempest. Maybe you want the Giratina. Maybe you believe in the Giratina's growth and the strength that it holds up in Lost Origin. If you can afford Evolving Skies, maybe you go into there after we get to the bottom of the market. I think this is where you will build your best position. This is the time to really, really move in and start finding products that you want and need for your collection or for the long-term hold. So this is where you're going to look for opportunities in that dip. When you get to the bottom of the market, when we see the proper indicators and we're there, this is where you're going to want to really step in and start buying. And for sure, only buy what you understand, buy what you know. If you start investing into sets that you find really questionable, this is not the time to buy. Now that you're going to have the time to pick and choose, the opportunity to pick and choose, this is where you buy what you understand to be the greatest or the greatest sets in whatever era it may be. It doesn't really matter. You understand which are the favorite Pokemon, the most popular Pokemon. You understand what sets didn't have as much out there, what didn't get as much reprints. Maybe there is something that's scarce out there. There's a product that's scarce that hasn't gotten as many reprints as you thought it would, because Pokemon clearly shows more attention to some sets than others. One thing I do want to stress is that hype cycles come and go. We always have to keep in mind the fundamentals, be patient. Corrections are very, very healthy for the market. This was something that was very, very necessary for the current hype cycle. And it's going to provide opportunities, right? This is where we will build our positions. If you don't already have them, this is going to be another great opportunity heading into next year. Once again, this is not a time to panic. This is a time to just be aware of what's going on, be educated, do your homework, strategize, and pick and choose. Maybe hold capital, start to build up capital, and unleash when the time comes, when we finally hit the bottom of the market. Pick and choose the proper sets. Pick the sets that you know for sure will be great long-term holds. Quality over quantity is something that you're going to have to be looking into in this current period, right? In the next 3 months, you will have opportunities. Quality over quantity. That's something that you definitely should keep in mind. But I do want to leave you guys off with one last question. What do you think is at the bottom? What product do you think is at the bottom? What set? What booster box? If there's a product, whether it be Paldea Evolved, whether it be Evolving Skies being the best set probably ever created, what do you think is at the bottom? Do you think it's not going to continue dipping? Do you think there's nothing at the bottom? Let me know in the comments. Let me know how you guys feel. We're all just having conversations here, brainstorming. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen in the foreseeable future. We don't even know if there's going to be reprints, right? There's been a lot of talk. I've heard a few people already trying to speculate, thinking what's going to happen in the next 3 months. That they're assuming that there's going to be booster boxes coming to market. Maybe some Destined Rivals going to be coming to market because the reprint that we had only came from the Pokemon Center and Target, really. We didn't see anything come to Best Buy. Nothing came from Walmart. Nothing appeared really at LGS's. There wasn't anything about vending machines having Destined Rivals booster boxes in there. So that's a very big possibility. We have not had any Journey Together reprints whatsoever, being the non-enhanced or the enhanced booster boxes. So we don't know what's really going to happen, right? Because there's much needed in the Pokemon market. We do need a lot of printing to happen. We don't know what Pokemon has in store for us, but there's a lot of speculation. So let me know what you guys think. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe out there. Peace.